Welcome to the Go Slow to Go Fast lifestyle podcast. In a world that's constantly racing, around here, we believe the most powerful way forward is by slowing down, listening, and moving with intention. I'm your host, Kendra Chapman, caffeine lover, podcaster, mom of triplets, and someone who lovingly embraces country living. Each week, we delve into the balance of mind, body, and spirit, aligning our lives with what truly matters. So whether you are tuning in for the first time or you're a longtime listener, thank you for being here. This podcast is an invitation to reflect, realign, and move forward with purpose. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Go Slow to Go Fast lifestyle podcast. I'm your host, Kendra Chapman, and we have part 2 with Russell Van Brocklen here today. We've already had a full sit down where we talked about his backstory and his approach to working with students with dyslexia and helping parents. And so now we're going to get into the second part in more detail about how this works, how it can work at home, how it can take those homework hours from those frustrating hours of homework down to much less time. And parents, you can do this starting tomorrow if you want, depending on how comfortable you feel. So definitely go back and watch the part 1 if you didn't see it, but we're going to dive into part 2. So Russell, thank you for coming back.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. All right. So I know that we talked a little bit about your approach and the research behind it, why you got into this work that you do, primarily because you are also somebody who has the superpower of dyslexia. And so now you're showing parents, you're showing students how to harness this to improve their reading and writing. So what can you kind of offer now based on when we spoke last, I think in the fall?
Well, basically, what has come back to me is just so everybody knows, you really do need to watch the first episode because I went over basic sentences, explained the concept of actually using the best neuroscience. And we're going to advance that to really advanced level body paragraphs. So just so you know what the science is again, this is the book called Overcoming Dyslexia by Dr. Sally Shaywitz from Yale. This is dyslexia. It's this simple. K through the first 2 years of college does this part of the brain, the back part. The dyslexic has essentially nothing going on back there. The front part's 2.5 times overactive. Okay? So in the front part, what we described is it deals with word analysis followed by articulation. We also discussed how you focus on the kid's speciality from the specific to the general. Okay? And we don't give them a big question and go down. We start off with a specific question and go out. All right. Then we do word analysis followed by articulation. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to explain how to do an advanced body paragraph. And Kendra, I can almost guarantee you're going to learn a new process on how to improve your writing.
I'm all for it.
So we have classes now on a learning platform called School. It's called skool.com, where Angela, who's a certified elementary school teacher and a homeschooling mom, walks parents through how to take their kids from basic sentences through a basic body paragraph. I'm going to assume the kids can now write a basic body paragraph. Then we don't do middle school. We jump right up to showing dyslexic students how to pass their state. I'm just going to use New York State exam as an example. Our final history exam is called the Regents exam. It's given in 10th or 11th grade. And I'm going to show you the main part of how to do an advanced body paragraph.
And these are traditionally more complicated assessments to pass. I mean, New York has had a
infinitely.
Yes. Yeah.
It's quite complicated. This is just so you know the New York State statistics in the English language arts. I'm going to give the Averill Park Central School District as an example. It's right outside of Albany, New York, where I went and where there's a lot of, and just my background with that school. Came back in the early 00s. I'm a New York State funded dyslexia researcher, and we took a bunch of super motivated high school juniors and seniors with middle school writing skills. And one class period a day to the school year, we increased the writing to average range of entering graduate students. Not the SAT, the graduate records exam writing assessment.
GRE. Yep.
They scored in the average range. They all went on to college. They all graduated. GPAs of 2.5 to 3.6. Cost to New York State taxpayers was under $900 a student. My competition was over 100,000 and we were 3x as successful. So what happened when I presented there is we needed a program for everybody. And so we're just showing you how to pass the main parts doing an advanced body paragraph.
Okay.
So when we did that, the English language arts passage rate was typically around 43 to 58%. But for that district, once they went up to the regions, their passage rate was like 90 something percent. Why? Because the regents exam in 10th and 11th grade was optional.
Mm.
A lot of kids just didn't take it. So we're going to show you how to fix that tonight. So, and we're going to be doing that with the overactive front part of the brain using word analysis followed by articulation. So the first thing that I found out how to communicate this is through a universal theme. So how I explain this is it's going to seem like it's out of left field, as most dyslexic solutions are, but it'll make sense very quickly. So I need you to tell me a movie in your experience that meets these three criteria.
Okay.
You know it intimately.
Okay.
It's one of the best movies of all time, and everybody's seen it. What's the name of that movie?
Well, I have so many to choose from. I mean, I'm kind of somebody that goes right to Dead Poet Society, but if you want to do something.
Perfect.
Okay.
Perfect. Dead Poet Society is fantastic.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to ask you a really hard question. I
Mm-hmm.
need you to reduce Dead Poet Society into a one-word universal theme that best represents that movie in your own unique viewpoint. One word.
One word. Perspective.
Perspective. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now I want you to think. You said you used to be a principal over in Virginia
And in Tennessee. Yes.
and in Tennessee. Okay. I want you to think back. Did you ever work with in high schools?
Yes.
I want you to think back. You need to change the name of a student. Give me their fake name. Who's just a brilliant. The kid was dyslexic, and you could just feel the genius flowing through them.
I'm going to call him Will.
Okay. Now, if I were to ask Will that same question, how long would it have taken him to come up with an answer? Will would have come back within a fraction of a second and told me what the word was. He might shower me with words. Processing time would be a fraction of a second. So
Yes.
my point in doing this is you're very highly educated. But this is where I want to start pointing out to people, we're playing in this part of the brain.
Mm-hmm.
I got people like me have 2.5 times the neural activity. This is what parents need to understand. They start doing this with their kids, and their kids are so much faster coming back with words. And I had parents who were literally lawyers, medical doctors, PhDs. And they're like, what the heck? Kid came back instantaneously with a better word. And the reason is because we have 2.5 times the neural activity. Then they're beginning to grasp that there are advantages to being dyslexic.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you go to Shark Tank, half the sharks are dyslexic.
Mm-hmm.
Half. Okay. There's advantage to it. Okay. So what was your universal theme again?
Perspective.
Perspective. Okay. So how we would do that movie guide is we would ask, how did the main actors do with that universal theme? How did the director do? How did the screenwriter do?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Here's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Broad brush.
Yes.
So for those of you who are old enough to remember back into the 90s, into the last century, we had a couple of networks. We had a couple of major publications, and you just blast it to everybody. Perspective could work for marketing. But
Mm-hmm.
in the 2020s, we have to be much more specific. So
Mm.
at this point, I had to go and figure out, how do we communicate this? So I went to the professors and I said, who is the best person in English language written history on communicating ideas? And they all said one name, William Shakespeare. So
Okay.
I am about to traumatize some of your audience just for a moment. We're going to go back to high school English and Shakespeare just for a moment. So I want you to think back to any Shakespeare play you ever read. You had a hero. Hero
Mm-hmm.
was based on one or more universal themes. Then there'd
Mm-hmm.
be an ultimate villain who was a character combined with some concepts and some universal themes who would try to stop the hero from accomplishing their goal. They would have a conflict in Act 1, accelerate like crazy Act 2, resolve Act 3. Sound familiar?
Yes.
So we're going to simplify that. So the other thing that I'm about to show you is not only am I going to show you how to do advanced writing, I'm going to show you how to teach this kid to read.
Okay.
Okay. And I want to give you, probably discussed this in the last time, but as a refresher, the most motivated kid I ever worked with, her name was Casey.
Mm-hmm.
Casey came from a lower middle class family in Midwestern United States. I met when she was at the end of fifth grade. She was reading and writing at the second grade level. So she was really interested in Theodore Roosevelt. So I assigned her this insane book, The Rise of Theodore Roosevelt, all 900 pages of it. Now,
Mm-hmm.
depending on who you ask, this book won the Pulitzer. This is the 10th grade to first year college level.
Okay.
Okay. So Casey wanted to do reading first. So I gave her a version of what I'm about to tell you. She went up to her room for 3 hours a night for the next 6 months, most of the day during the summertime. At the end of that, you could flip to this random page, point to that random word, and she would tell you the exact dictionary definition. She jumped
Mm.
8 grade levels in 6 months, and I worked with her for 15 minutes a week.
Yes.
No, this is not normal. No, I will never see this again, but it illustrates how powerful this is. Most of my kids are on this process for 6 to 18 months.
Okay.
Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to, first of all, we're going to have them, whatever they're really interested in, they're going to pick the hero. And then they're going to write out for 5. Now remember, we assume that they can write basic body paragraphs. We're going to have them write out 5 to 20 paragraphs, typing, no, on a real keyboard, not an iPad, not an iPhone, and certainly not Android. They're typing on a keyboard for 5 to 20 paragraphs on what the hero wants to do. Then for each sentence, they're going to pick out the most important word and they're
Mm.
going to type it out
Mm-hmm.
for each sentence. Then they're going to go to Merriam-Webster's online dictionary or some other comparable dictionary. They're going to pick out their definition and they're going to type out the word and type out the definition for each one of the most important words. You cannot trust them not to copy and paste. You cannot trust them. I'm an Eagle Scout. I wouldn't trust an Eagle Scout to do this. You have
Right.
to look over their shoulder until
Mm-hmm.
eventually you can trust them. Because if
Mm-hmm.
they copy and paste, you're just wasting time. Okay. And they're going to do that the entire time. Then they're
Mm-hmm.
going to pick the word and definition they like the best. And that's going to be our base universal theme. But like what you ran into, broad brush.
Yes.
Okay. So then what we're going to do is let's just assume the kid's speciality is the Dead Poet Society. We're going
Okay.
to use that script, which you can use at middle school, high school, college, grad school, doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
So then what you're going to do is you're going to take the best one and we're going to put that into the thesaurus and we're going to look
Mm-hmm.
at synonyms. You can do 5 synonyms. You can do 10 synonyms. You can do a whole level, multiple levels, whatever, same thing. Let's say you're
Mm-hmm.
doing 10, which is common. You have the kids type out the word, go to Merriam-Webster's online dictionary, find their definition, type it out for those 10. Now, people are asking me, what's with all the freaking typing? And I'm going to now ask you a deadly serious question
Mm-hmm.
that nobody else in my community has figured out. All right. We're going back to the science.
Right.
Overactive front part of the brain. Yale says this starts off with word analysis. Here's my question. How can you apply word analysis if you don't know exactly what the word means? How can you?
Well, I mean, in my brain, I'm thinking I would break it apart to figure out the meaning,
No,
but
you can't.
okay.
I've tried. I've tried every variation, every permutation of this. The simple reason is you have to know exactly what that word means with the kid's chosen definition. How, and the other thing that I've learned that other researchers have clearly not gotten is it's the massive repetition. Remember what I did initially. For under $900, for under 1% of the cost of my competition, I had so much greater success. I had so many kids do it, 50 to 70th percentile on the GRE. Okay. The spelling and grammar the teacher spent almost no time on, it's self-corrected from horrendous to clean at the grad level. We're talking 8th grade levels of improvement. Correcting.
So, Russell, you're saying a child continuously gets that repetition exposure to the same word and they understand what it means over and over and over again, then they memorize it, right? Is that what you're saying?
So much deeper. Eventually, they're going to copy and paste that word so many times. I don't know if it's 5 times. I don't know if it's 20. I don't know if it's 30. I'm saying this is 6 months to 18 months. Casey condensed this down to 6 and in just every word in that book. So you type out the word, you type out the definition. Eventually, the kid's going to say, Mom, just my research has shown in school, this is 90% of mom thing. Mom, I got it. And the mom's like, okay, tell me what see what you wrote and compare it to the actual definition. If it's essentially there, they're done. They don't need to type it again. If it's not, keep going. The repetition is so much more than you think.
So it's better typing than writing, you're seeing.
When I took my original course, remember, this is judged by his State University of New York Distinguished Professor in Psychology. Had them type out with the best students, 70th percentile approximately. We had them handwrite it out. It dropped to the 6th percentile. Because I want you to think about the connection between the front and back part of the brain. For a gen ed kid, it's like 5G. For a dyslexic, it's like, dial-up. The physical contact of writing out W instead of just hitting a key kills all the working memory.
Yeah. And that tracks, because I would have so many boys, generally speaking, I would have a lot more boys that would get so frustrated and they didn't want to write anything. But if I put them on a computer and they were typing, they were much more open to that. So that does definitely help bridge that gap of frustration, taking that out of it. And then constant, just practice. I can see that. Does it matter if they hunt and peck?
Doesn't matter. I literally have 7-year-olds doing this going, I don't care. Eventually they get quicker. The key thing is the older they are, the quicker they pick it up. But what you're doing is you're typing out that word and definition. Eventually, they're going to get it. Now, they do this at 10 or 11. You know this is a principle, that SAT and ACT, all it is for the verbal section is a vocabulary test. My kids do not have to do those vocabulary words. They did them in middle school. They remember 70, 80% of the definition. Plus, here's the key thing. If you can write it, you can read it. If you can write it, you can read it. You do this. My goal over 18 months is developing an advanced vocabulary of at least 500 evolved words.
Mm-hmm. And
That's
we know
your
that.
jump
We
up.
know that. Yes. Because writing
Yeah.
is a higher skill than reading, for sure.
Right. But that's your jump up to reading. So what I tell, and this is what I tell the parents, if I were to give you this budget, number one, we're going to pay your teachers a heck of a lot less. And we're going to give you, because it's a private school of $75,000 a year, the student to teacher ratio is 4 to 1 or 5 to 1. Okay. And I'm going to give you kids who comes from families where they care. I think you could do miracles too. Okay. That's what the private schools are. This way you don't have to sell your house. Okay. So eventually you can trust the kid. They sit down and they type. All right. So what you're doing is you're just building up. Eventually they get it. Then they're like, oh, I can read that word. I like, yeah, you don't read it. You know it.
So would you say, Russell, that it's a good idea to work within complex texts versus just getting a bunch of GRE or SAT
no, we don't
or,
do
cards and then typing those
I
out?
specifically remember what I said. We can't do the GRE for most kids. We have to do in the kids' speciality. They're in a book they like. We're teaching them from the specific to the general.
Yeah. So you got to find texts that they're interested in. Then you work
Yes.
in that to build their vocabulary and then go from there.
Yes.
Got
So
it. Okay.
for the younger kids, it's generally Harry Potter or something along those lines.
Yeah. I
So-
was going to say Harry Potter, but I went the other way for me. So yeah, go ahead.
So as we're doing that, then they're going to pick the word whose definition best matches what's in their head.
Okay.
Okay. That's going to be their universal thing.
Mhm.
Then from there, we use that as a lens to pick the ultimate villain. I start off with characters. I eventually move on to concepts.
Mhm.
I use this with PhD students. I use this with middle school kids.
Mhm.
Okay. So then we take those three things and put them together into a basic sentence. Do you see how that's
Right.
an evolved form of word analysis? Okay. Then we're absolutely. But now, I'm going to show you how to do articulation, because remember, this is word analysis followed by articulation up here. Now I'm going to show you how to improve your writing. Okay. We're going to go because and come up with 3 really good reasons. Then for each reason, we're going to reduce that to a simple universal thing. We're going to use that simple universal theme to go to the script of Dead Poet Society. And we're going to find a quote that deals with that universal theme, a one-sentence quote in the beginning of the movie script and one near the end. We're then going to take those two quotes and put them together. That's our data. Now, I want you to understand, middle school teachers, high school teachers have told me, I can't assign writing anymore for homework because the AI will do it. And I'm like, not anymore, because like math homework, the kids can show you exactly how they did it. If they can't, they used AI and you put a big red F on it and send them back to do it. You can now assign writing homework. Teachers, that if the one thing that they got from this is the ability to do that. Now, here's the other thing. Teachers have been complaining about me for decades about BS papers. If you have 2 quotes per paragraph, this is not a BS paper. By definition, it can't be. So here's my question. In your educational experience, for your AP English juniors and seniors, how many quotes per paragraph for body paragraphs do they typically use? The best of the best, how many do they use? Okay, at least 3. I'm giving you 2. And if you want to, how do you get 3? Go to the middle of the script and pick out one. Divide the script. You see where I'm going? All right. So this is how you can pick that up. Now, let's just assume we got your 2 sentences, your 2 quotes. Then we're going to create the topic sentence from the quote. Okay. Now, I want you to think back to your master's degree. Have you ever noticed that when you were writing, you found that your topic sentence and your data did not flow very well between the two? Have you ever thought about applying a warrant to a body paragraph? Do you know what a warrant is? Okay. No, I found 2 people outside of doctoral candidates that actually knew what this is. This is a central part of a book called The Craft of Research, which has sold over 1 million copies in 31 years to tell PhD students how to do their dissertation. For this specific area, they recommend use of a warrant. It's answering a how and a why question in order to connect the topic sentence with your data. So then we answer a how question, we answer a why question, we put that into a sentence or 2, and then we have our topic sentence, our warrant, and our body paragraph. I'm sorry, then our 2 quotes. That forms the basis of an advanced body paragraph. Now, that's generally how you do it. Now, what effect does this have? What I'm about to tell you, this was one of the most fun times I ever had. I was working with a 7th grade dyslexic kid, and he had a massive inferiority complex because, like a lot of them, they had older siblings who did amazing. His brother was a senior in high school, literally fighting to be valedictorian. We're talking very narrow difference between him and whoever else was fighting.
Mm-hmm.
And he was an AP English student. So I said, okay, let's have some fun. I literally had his older brother write out a body paragraph, and his 7th grade dyslexic younger brother, my client, he wrote
Mm-hmm.
out one, and we submitted it to a university professor. The university professor made the obvious comparisons. The first one was written beautifully, very elegantly, very flowy sentences. But the second one, much shorter, much choppier, used a warrant. So
Okay.
therefore, he thought it was technically more evolved. And when the older brother found out, he flipped. What do you mean? I'm the AP kid. I may be
Yeah.
valedictorian. My
Mm.
kid brother's just, and I looked at his younger brother and I said, isn't that beautiful? Do you think you've arrived? I said, you got a long way to go, but he's like, yeah, I can't believe I beat him on something.
And that builds confidence once they realize that they can do it.
Through the roof. So essentially, what I just showed you is this
Mhm.
is how you develop reading. This is how, and it literally is for a lot of kids. It's 12 to 18 months. A lot of them pushing towards 18. They're sitting down because I give you a little hint. Most kids aren't doing this 3 hours a night, 7 nights a week. That was Casey. Okay. So what I always find amusing is when I'm presenting a major dyslexia conference, which I've done for, you know, 20 years now. All right. And the teachers come and they say, well, it's so hard to teach kids how to write. And I give the Casey story. They're like, no, you couldn't have spent 15 minutes with her. I said, yeah, I did. But actually, bunch of that time where I was a cheerleader in college and she joined our cheerleading team and we were discussing that. So yeah, that's where we spent a bunch of the time. And they just couldn't believe it.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the final thing came through was, I think it was October or November of, which she was in sixth grade. She's in silent reading. You know, the other kids are reading Harry Potter and she's reading this beast. And they came over and took her book. None of them could get past the first paragraph. Her mom was called. They said, the school said, we thought your daughter had a severe reading problem. She's the best
Mm,
reader in the class by grade levels. What's going on? Her mom called me and I said, what do you think she's been doing in her room all this time?
mm.
And I said, not only can she tell you what those words mean, she can defend it at the college level. I said, try it. Try arguing with her.
Which
Well,
is huge because, in my experience, I would see kids and librarians and teachers out there. You know this. You've seen kids walking around with these big books. But it's like armor. Like, I can read this kind of book, even though their reading level was probably way below those books. They do that. A lot of kids do that. They walk around with these big books because they want kids to either leave them alone or they want to be able to read that book. So the fact that you're teaching kids to be able to read these books, no matter how thick and, dense they are, that's like life changing for kids.
right. And the other issue is just because I think that pretty much explains that part, but a lot of parents are still under the belief that dyslexia is a reading problem.
And
It's
it's a
not.
barrier, that it's a barrier to success.
Well, yes, but they think dyslexia is a reading problem.
Uh-huh.
Dyslexia is not a reading problem. It's lack of
Mhm.
organization, the overactive part of the head.
Mm.
So
Mm.
one thing that I would like to do, if it's okay with
Mhm.
you,
Yep.
I would like to see if I could turn you dyslexic
Okay.
to see what it's like.
Yeah.
Okay. So just so you know what happened, do you have any interest in this material? Post-war Japan is history.
Not really, but I was a poli-sci major in my undergrad, so, I kind
Okay,
of
so
get an
you might be
idea
able.
of
So
it.
I'm just going to tell you what happened. I go
Yeah.
in to teach reading teachers, and I'll tell them dyslexia is not a reading problem; it's just a symptom. Like in a cold, a stuffy nose is a symptom. It's really in your chest. That's the issue.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
they said, "Prove it." I said, "Okay." So what happened was I was studying in Japan over 20 years ago, and they had to switch teachers. The teacher who came over was from Harvard. She was the grad student, taught all the editors course at Harvard.
Mm.
And she gave us this book, and nobody could understand the first paragraph. Nobody. I thought it was so easy to read. It was the easiest thing I've read. The professor's name was Professor Dower. He won the Pulitzer and the National Book Award. So what I'd like to do is just go through the first three sentences and
Okay.
have you tell me at the most simplest level what it means.
Okay.
Okay? All
Yep.
right. So
No
here we
pressure.
go. Oh, and I do this so teachers have an understanding of what it feels like to be dyslexic.
Yeah.
Okay, so just tell me in the most simplest words what this means.
Mm.
Ever since Japan's seclusion was ruptured by Western nations in 1853, domestic and international politics have been interwoven for the Japanese.
Mm.
What does
Yeah, they
that
went
mean?
from seclusion to disruption,
Okay. Was
basically.
that hard for you in any way?
No, but I had to think about it for a minute.
Okay.
It's that
Here's the second
cognitive
sentence.
load. Yeah, go ahead.
Slogans used to mobilize succeeding generations convey this interconnection.
Okay, that sounded like gobbledygook. Can you say that again?
Okay. Let's try it again. Slogans used to mobilize succeeding generations convey this interconnection.
Okay, so I'm hearing propaganda to motivate the next generation to do whatever the
Okay.
government's looking for. Yeah.
Last sentence. Thus, The forces that eventually overthrew the feudal regime in 1868 rallied around the cry, "Revere the emperor, expel the barbarians."
It's like no kings. No
Okay,
kings and get rid of the, people that are trying to rule us now.
okay. Now, you did this with no problem.
But I had to close my eyes because I'm a visual person. And so not seeing the words, I had to close my eyes and listen to the words you were saying. So that was harder for me.
Okay, but if I were to put you in any graduate class, you would have to work extremely hard to do well.
I've always had to kind of work harder
But
myself as a
graduate
student.
school, by its definition, you have to
Mhm.
work hard to do well.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
So you were
I
not
agree.
putting any more effort than you would if this was a grad class you had to prepare
Correct.
for.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
so. Right.
But I want you, so you are what I like to call a full brain person.
Mhm.
Okay. And because this is going to be a very important point for your audience to understand.
Mhm.
There are some dyslexics excel up here, Gen Ed excel back here. You can
Mhm.
do this and you can do this. You can do both.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, I'll agree
That's
with that.
rare. Now, I want you to think about if I not only read that to you, because I'm doing that on purpose to make it more difficult. If I
Sure.
gave you a photocopy of that first paragraph
Yeah.
and you sat there for 10 minutes, can you imagine reading teachers not having a clue of what it's saying at all?
Sure. I can
Okay.
imagine that. I mean, there might be some people that might not know how to break
It's
down
not
that
some,
word.
it's the majority.
Okay.
All right. Literally, I would take that to the Ivy League. Over half the kids couldn't get past the first paragraph.
So is it a vocabulary thing? Is it building their knowledge of, just past experiences? Or is it just having that wanting to learn more,
Nope. I'll
having
tell you
that
exactly what it
cognitive
is.
understanding? Okay.
First, it's not the quality of the writing. Professor Dower has won the Pulitzer, the National Book Award. He's the best writer in his field. What
Uh-huh.
he did is in that first paragraph, there are 17 key pieces of information. So, what's happening for most people that are Gen Ed is as they're reading it,
Mhm.
there is so much information. It's literally they're going off the tracks. And if I say, you want to feel like it's what to be dyslexic,
Mhm.
imagine I had this power and you can't answer it anyway, or I'm going to take away your house.
Mm.
Okay, I'll
Yeah.
take away your car. You get to take the bus. I'll take your job away and you're going to be flipping burgers at McDonald's. How does it feel to have you and your family homeless? What's the answer? And then they start going all crazy. I said, "You're grown-ups.
Mhm.
Imagine if you were 8."
Yeah.
That's what it's like for these dyslexic kids in school because you're testing the part of the brain that just doesn't work. Now, for those adults who, like you, who put in the effort of what they would do normally in any grad class,
Mhm.
and then they can do that, and then they're asking, well, how come the others can't? Well, that just shows you that they're those who can't, the teachers that can't, is what I like to use as an example. I said, well, I'm asking you to do reading that Professor Dower says you absolutely should be able to do by the end of second year of college. And if you
Mhm.
can't, you don't want to know what his reaction is because it's exceedingly not polite.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what
Yeah.
I'm illustrating is that's where I end with my most advanced dyslexic students.
Mm.
I show them not only to read 3 sentences, that's a 30-page essay. I show them how to read that, and what I tell them is, in the most extreme examples, I took Adam, he was a 19-year-old high school senior, he was held back twice.
Mhm.
We taught him to go from the 7th grade level to the 70th percentile of entering grad students, then I taught him how to go through that entire essay in 5 sittings of 5 hours each, 5 to 6 hours.
Okay.
Okay, so in less than 30 hours, he was reading better than, like, most of the reading teachers that I train. And they're just like, "How is that possible?" And
Yeah.
as I tried to say, reading is not dyslexics are excellent readers once properly trained.
Yeah. And
The reading issue is a symptom, not the problem.
right. Right. And I think when you're doing this approach with kids and you're getting them to interact with complex text on a topic they like, that they're very interested in, that's highly motivating. And then you're bridging that schema of their experience to that topic. So then when they move on to higher levels, be it work or, ongoing school, they're going to be more apt to try something that's difficult because they're going to feel confident that they can do it.
Yes, and as you know, in our society, unfortunately, K through the first 2 years of college, we want to become well educated broadly.
Yes.
After
Yes.
that, it's all about specialization. When you were principal, I
Hmm.
don't think anybody really cared if you could paint a picture or
No,
draw Mickey Mouse
no.
or pick up an instrument and play. I don't think anybody cared. Okay. So that is understanding that dyslexics by our very nature are academic specialists, not generalists. So, and why I'm telling parents this is
Hmm.
because if you think the school's going to accommodate your kids or going to change anything, they're not. Because I want you to think back through any part of your education. If you did two things, if you
Hmm.
put up if you create a proper study schedule where you gave yourself enough time, do it the right way, and then you
Hmm.
worked really hard, you did well to freaking amazing. You
Yeah. I
stopped
mean, I
doing one of
tended.
those. What's that?
Yes. I tended
Yes.
to do better if I was organized. Yes.
No, no. If you did those two things, you did
Hmm.
well to amazing.
Hmm.
You stopped doing one of those two things or both, you went off the cliff.
Yes.
Okay. For a dyslexic, you could work 10 times harder and still not go. It's like you're spinning your wheels in the mud.
Gotcha.
Okay. The other idea is the school will accommodate you.
Hmm.
Here's the
Hmm.
absurdity of that statement. The sport that I suck at is basketball. What sport do you suck at?
Tennis.
Okay. So I want you to imagine for the
Hmm.
next 6 months, we're going to give you the best tennis coach in the world. You're
Yeah.
practicing 8 hours a day, 6 days a week. And then we're going to get you the best tennis equipment money can buy. Then we're
Hmm.
going to have you compete against a woman your age who played Division I tennis in college and then
Hmm.
kept up reasonably at it. And we're going to give her used Walmart equipment that should be in the dumpster. Is it going to matter in the least? All that effort?
I don't think so because she's still
No,
going
it
to have the
won't.
muscle memory and she'll know what to do more than I will.
Yes, because your body was not designed to do this. Our brains, our dyslexic brains are not designed to do undergrad and college. We get into grad
Hmm.
school, it's freaking unfair to the extreme. Okay. It's majorly unfair because we can come up with the ideas. I'm going to let you know if you decided to do your PhD, you would be able to come up with something that's actually worth doing.
Mm,
Most people who enter a PhD program end in two ways. Either it's all but dissertation 30 years later,
yeah.
or they do their dissertation and nobody cares.
Yeah.
You can do one where people actually care.
Mm,
Literally, I've used that test for multiple occasions, and people couldn't believe when just the distinction of the full brains to the not full brains. Who was
mhm,
successful? Who it all went back down to that thing. So
mm.
just to give you an example, the dyslexic has the extreme advantage. We just have to get them through that first 2 years of college if they're going on for a 4 year degree.
Right. Okay. All right. So, Russell, what would you say? Do you want to talk a little bit about what parents can do at home with their kids to get them to think differently about complex texts if they have a book they really enjoy? Or do you want to kind of get into more of the writing right now?
Well, I gave you the basic sentences. I gave you this.
Mm-hmm.
The main thing that I want parents to do is to go back and review all this. Understand it's word analysis followed by articulation.
Mm-hmm.
We find out the kid's speciality, their area of extreme interest and ability. You get an audio book that deals with that a couple of years ahead of where they're supposed to be. They have to like the narrator. And then
Mm-hmm.
as we went back in the initial video, you teach them from the specific to the general. Okay. And you follow this process. And if you follow those two things,
Hmm.
the kid will eventually be able to write the kernel of the advanced body paragraph. Your teachers will be able to add to that. Then they can go ahead and pass their state assessments.
All right. I love it. Okay. And that is something that you are building your research pile on. Like you've got lots of data to back that up now,
Well, we're
probably since we
actually
last spoke.
yeah, the main thing that we're doing is we're teaching parents this. Remember, it's not that the school districts want to be hard on the neurodiverse. But if I
No.
asked you to stop teaching general to the specific and to
Mhm.
stop teaching well-roundedness and to start teaching what the kids want to work on, the schools aren't doing that. They
Right.
won't. So what I tell parents is we need to show you how to do that. In order to do that, I looked at my competition, and the
Mhm.
price tag is anywhere from the Barton system at $500 a month because most parents can't do they can't learn all the materials. So they hire a tutor, and it's $500 a month typically, all the way up to $6,000 to $7,000 a month for the private schools, and that's 12 months.
Wow.
Okay, so we found a price tag that worked for most parents. We had to lower it to 147, but
Mm.
then I actually had to have a qualified instructor.
Mhm.
So we have Angela. She's a certified elementary school teacher in the state of Texas with a 2-year master's degree and 11 years of experience. Then
Mhm.
her daughter was born and she became a homeschooling mom. She's teaching her dyslexic son and her gen ed kid, Alfred, how to do all of this. She's there each week for an hour a week to answer your questions. And parents ask how far we go. The most advanced kid we're working with now is Grayson. And just so you know why we're going where we're going, there was a recent podcast interview with the head of Google artificial intelligence. He said the biggest problem they have is coming up with a problem statement.
Mhm.
So that's where if you can answer it, you're going to have a huge improvement whatever you're doing. They have a hard time just coming up with that question, that statement. So what we're doing with Grayson, he's gen ed. He's not dyslexic in the least. He's in the 99th percentile for math and science. He wants
Mhm.
to get his PhD, work at NASA to terraform Mars. So his
Mhm.
father's teaching him the advanced body paragraph as we speak, and we're going to show him how to come up with a problem statement that is worth doing a PhD level article on. That we're converting him over, sending him to a senior professor.
That's great.
How old? Yeah, well, how old do you think Grayson is? He's a little on the
12?
young side. No,
Is he
he's 10.
12? He's 10.
Okay. So when parents ask, how far do we go to the second level of the craft of research, which is we do context, which is a version of what I've shown you so far, and
Mhm.
then how to come up with that problem statement. And we show parents how to teach their kids. Why
That's
are
great.
we having you do the work? Most parents do 10 to 15 minutes sessions.
Mhm.
And this way you're not dropping $150 to $300 an hour.
Nice.
Because
Okay.
honestly, who can afford really good private tutors? Most families can't. Now, if
No,
you
and
look out
then
your
yeah.
window and you see two newish BMWs, okay,
Mhm.
but that's not most people.
But still, it's like there's so much you gotta do. You gotta do your research, you gotta know it's word of mouth, it's you gotta be able to know what your kid is doing so you can supplement and focus on that. So it's,
It's
not everybody has that budget or that time.
well, let me again, the book that I've coming out, her name is Kimberly.
Mhm.
The book's called If You Write, You Can Read. My co-authors, Evelyn White Bay, who was on the New York State Dyslexia Task Force, is one of the few teachers.
Okay.
My story is about Kimberly. Kimberly is a homeschooling mom with a few college credits. She has 5 kids, 4 gen ed. I met her on December 27th of 2024. A couple weeks before, she had the state of Ohio test her kids. The 4 gen ed kids read brilliantly with traditional methods. But her 5th grade son, her 10-year-old son, Reed, was reading at the 11th percentile, writing at the 4th percentile. Over the summertime, Reed's friends came to him and said they wanted him in public school to be with them socially.
Mhm.
So let's say Kimberly tripled that, reading at the 33rd percentile, writing at the 12th percentile. I take it he's still going to be put in special ed.
Depends. I mean, eligibility is a whole other thing,
Well,
but
generally,
yeah.
if you're writing at the 12th percentile, you're going in. That's been my
Mm.
experience. Plus, the school can't triple that in 8 months. Well, that
Mhm.
didn't happen. He was tested in a pub. I worked with her for half an hour a week for 8 months. She worked with him for an hour and a half a week for 8 months. Most parents do 10 to 15-minute sessions 1 to 4 times a week.
Okay.
In August, he was tested in a public school. His reading went from the 11th percentile to the 64th. His writing went from the 4th percentile to the 65th.
Mhm.
As of May of 26, he's in mainstream classes, getting mainly A's and B's. Kimberly did what every parent dreams of in less than 9 months. That's how
Right.
powerful this is.
Yeah. All right. Well, the first thing is to find out what your kid enjoys, what topics they want to read about.
Absolutely, because
Yeah.
without that, this doesn't work. When I
Mhm.
shifted Casey, the book she hated, her motivation dropped 50%.
Mm.
Most kids will drop 75 to 90%. They just won't do the work.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
if they do it, it's so reluctant, it's just not going to work. And parent like with when it came down to read, he was about Logan and X-Men. So we had to go to graphic novels, but I had to tell
Mm-hmm.
Kimberly, you have to pre-approve these. She read
Yeah.
some. She's like, these are absolutely fine. Other one, she's like, no way am I getting my 10-year-old to read this.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the parents have to pre-approve that. Now,
Fair.
that's for me working with parents.
Mm-hmm.
Evelyn, when she was a court appointed person, her student jumped 6.6 grade levels in less time.
Wow.
But she's a
Okay.
master teacher. That's how fast the best teachers can get.
Okay. So, where can people learn more about the work that you're offering, that you provide? Are your courses pre-recorded and available online, or is it something that you mentor through with your partner, your partnership?
How it's on a learning platform called School, SKOOL.com. Just type in dyslexia classes. Angela's our teacher. They are all pre-recorded, but she is there an hour a week to answer your questions. We announce each week when she's available. We ask
Hmm.
that you submit your questions 3 days ahead of time because most people ask the same question. But she's there. What we found is with the Barton system, they don't do that. You
Okay.
can't ask an expert directly. And that's what killed the effectiveness of that program. So having her there is really important. She's a homeschooling mom. She's been there. She's a teacher. She's been there. So she's
Gotcha.
there to answer all your questions. And our goal is to take you from your kid can't writing a basic sentence all the way through, as far as you want to go up the ladder towards, the problem statement.
Okay. All right. So we have the website and the fact that you guys are providing that extra one-on-one attention. People send their questions ahead of time. That's helpful. So, final thoughts before I let you go.
My final thoughts are this can be fixed. I know parents like, is this something I actually have to do? If you're going to work in your kid's speciality, so they'll actually do the work, yes, we need to work with you to get your kid to the point where they're at or above grade level. Then you can put them back in and like read, they'll be fine.
Okay. And you are getting ready to publish a book, or you already have
Yes, it's
published?
under its final revision. Famous last words of any author. It's called "If You Write, You Can Read," and my editor and Evelyn, my co-author, are going through it. But you know how hard the last edit is.
I can't imagine myself, but I wish you luck and
I have
all the
nothing to
good
do with
things.
it. I turned it over to Evelyn, and I can tell you that I'm not mentioning because I'm bad with names, but the
Mhm.
forward, the guy who people don't believe our statistics are too good. So our forward
Mm.
is written by a gentleman who used to work at the federal government. All the $1 trillion the public schools spend each year, there's a
Yes.
report that has to go to Congress. He's the statistician that ran that
Oh,
for
that's
like a
awesome.
decade. So he's
Nice.
writing our forward, and the reason why we wanted that is stat guys are really hard to convince, but these numbers are
Mhm.
actually real.
Okay. That's encouraging. That's motivating, I think, for so many parents and students out there that they, can improve their reading level and really start feeling confident as you get through the higher grade levels of high school and beyond, if that's what you want to do. So that's amazing. But it also sounds like that you are, this method would build problem solvers in the real world, in the workforce as well.
Exactly. As I said, Google does not know how to do a problem statement. I combined this with the craft of research, and we're currently teaching it to a 10-year-old. The
Yeah.
problem is super advanced people don't know how to do the problem statement as laid out in the craft of research. And you want to talk about economic value?
Hmm.
If you're working at Google and you ask the right questions, that could be worth tens of millions. It could be worth hundreds, billions of dollars. And it's just a matter of like anything. You have to go through lots of ideas. We show you how to do that. We actually solve that.
Well, I mean, I think that is the wave of the future. If we're going to be productive, if we're going to be thinking problem solvers using all of the C's, right? Creativity and, beyond what AI can provide. It's encouraging to hear that this is a method that works. And I'm actually excited about trying it myself because I have one right now, 3 11-year-olds, but I have one reading A Wrinkle in Time and he's drudging through it. He's one of my favorites.
So you're going to
I
want to
got to
switch
pick
spots.
another title. Yep. So I'm hearing you. We've got to pick something else and we got to get into something that we enjoy. So, all right. Thank you, Russell, for your time. I appreciate you coming on for the second time and I wish you well. I'm excited for you.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, that's it for today's episode of the Go Slow to Go Fast Lifestyle Podcast. So if this episode resonated with you, be sure to share it with anybody you know who needs a little calm and clarity in their life. Until next time, remember, the light in me honors the light in you. And as you head into the rest of your week, let your light shine through. Go slow to go fast, and thanks for listening.